Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, well, we take your source material, we dive in deep, and we try to pull out those key insights. Basically give you that shortcut to being, really well informed.
And today we're digging into something you shared with us. It's an excerpt from a podcast and really zeroes in on a very common workplace thing.
Right, that experience of getting handed unexpected extra work. And it's often framed as, a learning opportunity.
Exactly. And tied into that is the advice you hear all the time from, well, really successful CEOs, the whole work super hard, forget work-life balance mantra.
Yeah, that one. So our goal here in this deep dive is really to help you figure out, well, how do you evaluate those bits of work that land on your desk? And also, how do you kind of decode that success advice?
It's about making strategic choices, really, for your own career path.
Mm-hmm. So the material asks these, I think, really core questions, like, is this extra work a genuine chance to grow, or, are you just being taken advantage of?
And what are those CEOs really talking about when they mention having no work-life balance? What's the story behind the story?
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this, starting right from, well, the employee's perspective, where a lot of us live.
Yeah, the source material nails this scenario perfectly. You're, juggling your current work. Maybe you're already feeling a bit stretched thin.
Definitely.
And then, boom, a new project lands. And it's often presented with that positive spin, right? This is a great chance for you, or think of the learning.
Oh, absolutely. Inside, you're doing this mental calculation, aren't you? Like, part of you wants to step up, prove yourself.
You want to grow, yeah.
But another part is looking at your to-do list thinking, seriously, where does this fit? It's that classic ambition versus, well, sheer capacity problem.
It really is.
Yeah.
And this is where the material offers, I think, a really useful frame. It says, stop just accepting the work at face value. You need to become a detective about it.
A detective. I like that. It puts you in control, doesn't it?
It does. It implies you need to investigate.
So how do we conduct this investigation? What are the clues we're looking for to tell if it's a real opportunity or maybe exploitation?
Well, the analysis gives some pretty clear criteria. For it to be a true opportunity, it points to, three main things. First, actual skill development.
Okay.
Are you learning valuable stuff?
Ah.
Skills that are in demand that actually help you move forward? Or is it just, busy work? Tedious stuff that doesn't really build your profile?
That's a critical difference. Just because it's new work doesn't mean it adds value to you.
Precisely. Second thing to look for, visibility. Does this work get you noticed? Does it put you on the radar of senior people who can actually influence your career?
Right, because doing great work in secret doesn't really help you climb, does it?
Not usually, no. Visibility means your effort might actually lead to recognition later. And then third, is there a path to a clear reward?
Ah, okay. What does that mean exactly? Like immediate money?
Not necessarily just immediate cash. No, the material suggests it's more about an understanding, maybe a conversation about how this extra effort, translates down the line. Could it factor into a bonus, put you in line for a promotion? There needs to be some kind of future payoff connected to it.
Got it. So skills, visibility, clear reward potential, those are the green flags. What about the red flags? The signs that this might be, well, exploitation.
Yeah, the analysis is pretty blunt here. A big warning sign is if it's basically grunt work.
Uh-huh.
The routine, boring stuff nobody else wants to do. Maybe it landed on your plate because you're reliable, or maybe, frankly, because you find it hard to say no.
The necessary evils that don't actually advance your career or skills.
Exactly that. Another bad sign.
Uh-huh.
If the work is thankless and risky, meaning if you succeed, crickets. No praise, no mention in your review. But if something goes wrong,
oh, you know who gets the blame.
you bet. It's all on you. So it's high risk for you, but zero potential upside for you.
Oof. Yeah, that sounds like a fast track to just feeling resentful.
Totally. And the last one to watch out for is that slow creep where something starts as temporary help.
Right, just helping out for a bit.
And then somehow it just becomes a new, unpaid responsibility. Your job has effectively grown, maybe permanently, but your title, your salary, exactly the same.
Classic scope creep without the compensation creep.
That's it. Now, the material does add a really important nuance.
Okay.
It says, look, if you're in a genuinely supportive place, maybe you have a boss who's a real mentor who actively champions your growth,
Yeah.
then that extra work is probably a real opportunity. They're likely investing in you because they see potential.
So the environment, the relationship with your manager, that context matters a lot too.
It absolutely does. But, for those situations that aren't so clear-cut, Being
Hmm.
able to use these criteria, opportunity versus exploitation,
Yeah.
that's what the material calls your first line of defense.
Yeah.
It helps you choose where to put your energy.
That really shifts things, doesn't it? From just reacting to work to strategically evaluating it. Okay, so once you've got that detective work down for the task itself, the analysis moves on. It tackles that other big piece, decoding the advice from the top dogs.
Right, the CEO mantra. I worked insanely hard, sacrificed everything, no work-life balance. That's the secret sauce. We've all heard variations of it.
It sounds so compelling, like, okay, that's the blueprint, but this analysis suggests, wait a minute, let's look closer. Maybe they're not even talking about their life as a CEO when they say that.
That's the really interesting twist. They might be recalling their journey getting there. Maybe as an employee, maybe at a totally different stage.
Ah,
And if you actually analyze the paths different leaders took, you see the motivations, the context behind that intense work.
mm.
It often looks really different from the average employee's situation. Their no work-life balance often served a completely different purpose, different equation.
Okay, this sounds fascinating. Let's break down those paths. The material identifies, what, three main archetypes? The first one is the corporate climber. Sounds familiar.
Oh, yeah. This is the person who commits, like, fully to one company.
Hmm.
They work relentlessly, sacrifice balance, specifically to build that perfect track record within that organization. Their goal is the C-suite in that company.
And the driving force, the analysis says, is trading that balance for basically title and power within that existing hierarchy.
Exactly. But here's the reality check the material provides. Yes, this path is real. But think about it. How many spots are really at the very top of a big corporation?
Very, very few.
Right. So success isn't just about hard work. It's heavily influenced by things you can't control.
Hmm.
Office politics, timing, luck, the economy. The material calls it a high-stakes bet. Lots might try, but only a tiny percentage actually reach those top executive roles.
Huge effort, lots of variables, low odds for the ultimate prize. Got it. What's the second archetype?
The second one is the experience collector. Now, on the surface, their work ethic might look similar to the climbers. They work incredibly hard, take on a ton.
Okay, so what's different?
Their goal is different.
Yeah.
Their deep motivation isn't necessarily about becoming CEO of this specific company. It's more strategic. They're there to collect
Collect what?
knowledge, experience in different areas, understanding business models, building a network. They're soaking it all up like a sponge, but with a plan
Which is...
to eventually leave and start their own company.
Whoa, okay. So their intense work, their lack of balance, it's not for this company's ladder, it's R&D for their future company's ladder.
Precisely. The material calls it calculated R&D and points out that their employer is essentially funding it through their salary. It's a premeditated investment in their own entrepreneurial future. They're using the job as a launchpad.
That completely changes the meaning of their sacrifice, doesn't it? Wow. Okay, and the third type.
The true entrepreneur,
So someone who maybe skipped the corporate ladder part altogether.
pretty much. Or they were on it very briefly before jumping off to build their own thing from scratch. Their story is the business they built.
And for them, why does the no work-life balance thing fit so well?
Because for the true entrepreneur, every single hour they pour in, every sacrifice they make, directly impacts their own business. Its survival, its growth, their personal wealth. It's a direct, often exponential link.
Their effort is the bottom line.
Exactly. So when they give advice about relentless work, the material argues it makes perfect sense for them, and it's primarily relevant to other entrepreneurs facing that same direct reward dynamic.
Seeing them laid out like that climber, collector, entrepreneur, it really clarifies things. There's a common thread in their intense work, isn't there?
There absolutely is. The analysis nails it. For all three archetypes, their extraordinary effort and sacrifice is tied directly to the potential for exponential personal gain.
Right. Whether it's the top title, the future startup, or the current business profits, their work fuels a potentially huge reward for them.
And this is where the analysis brings it back, quite starkly, to the reality for many salaried employees. The contrast is huge.
How so?
It points out that the basic equation is just different. For the CEO types, it's effort for exponential gain. For many employees, the material sums it up with that slightly painful phrase, do more, get paid the same.
Ouch. Yeah, that phrase hits hard because it often feels true.
It resonates, right? Because often when a salaried employee takes on significant extra work, who benefits most? Usually the company's bottom line, or maybe it makes their boss look good. But the direct proportional reward increase for the employee, often minimal, maybe zero.
So if you just take that CEO logic, work 24/7, no balance, and try to paste it onto a typical employee situation.
The material basically says that's like comparing apples and oranges. You're playing different games with different rules and different scoring systems. Applying CEO logic in an employee context where your effort doesn't scale up your personal reward exponentially can be a trap.
A trap leading to.
Burnout, plain and simple. Burnout without the massive potential payoff that fueled those CEOs in the first place.
That distinction feels incredibly important. It really makes you stop and think, okay, whose game am I actually playing here? So if pouring endless extra hours into a standard employee role often doesn't give back that exponential personal return, how can someone build something where that effort does pay off more directly?
Ah, well, this is where the material brings in this idea of a fourth path. Path that, frankly, tons of people are already creating. It calls it the side hustler's game.
Right, doing something on the side outside the main job.
Exactly. And the analysis makes a powerful point. This arena, the side hustle arena, is where an employee can actually apply that intense no work-life balance idea effectively and see tangible, potentially exponential results for themselves.
Because there, the equation shifts back, right? Do more, earn more becomes real again, but for you.
Absolutely. If you're pouring extra hours into your own freelance gig, building your own online store, creating content, whatever it is, that effort translates directly into your income, your asset, your equity.
The link between effort and reward is direct and personal in a way it often isn't within a salary structure.
Precisely. So the sacrifice of time and energy here. The material frames it as no work-life balance choice made consciously by your own choice for your own benefit. You control the trade-off and you reap the rewards directly.
Which feels fundamentally different from pouring that same energy into something that mainly benefits your employer, with maybe just a pat on the back for you. The side hustle, then, is framed as a truly worthwhile investment in yourself.
Yes, it puts the power and the potential reward back in your hands. It lets you build your own future directly.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has given us, I think, a really useful set of tools. First, that detective framework for analyzing extra work. Is it opportunity or exploitation? What are the skills, the visibility, the reward?
And second, that crucial lens for decoding success advice. Understanding those different CEO paths, the climber, the collector, the entrepreneur, and realizing their equation often isn't the same as the salaried employee's equation.
It really does all come back to that final message in the material, doesn't it? You are the CEO of your own life and career.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And with this understanding of the different games, the different potential payoffs, you're better equipped to choose your game, to invest your precious time and energy where the reward actually matches what you value, what you're trying to build, not just playing by rules someone else set up for their benefit.
It definitely leaves you with a lot to chew on.
Mm.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening, building on all this. Given these different paths and equations, the climber's bet, the collector's R&D, the entrepreneur's direct gain, the side hustler's personal game, what is the most valuable currency you are actually trading your time and effort for right now? And maybe more importantly, are you satisfied with the return you're getting on that trade?